Hello, good evening, everyone. Uh, I know this will be like a shocker, to everyone. How come Sir is not on the screen and it is me? I'm Reshma Menon. I've been attending along with Sir. So if many of Sir's students know, I'm his wife. And I'm here only to represent Sir for today's session, and kindly excuse his absence because he's traveling and somehow the timings are coinciding with this session's timing. So I'm here only to fill up for Sir's absence. On behalf of Sir, I extend a warm welcome to all the attendees and a big thanks. I've never got an opportunity to speak to all the attendees of Men in Mantras, but I really want to extend my heartfelt thanks because of everybody's continuous participation, attendance. Anil sir has been able to carry this journey successfully, happily. He feels very happy interacting with all and seeing everybody present all the time. So never once sir has given a thought of canceling any session. So heartfelt thanks to everyone here. For today's session, as we all know, we are going to be talking about how to manage brands during these challenging times. So we have our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Rutu Modi Ramdar, and she is a PhD in branding and consumer behavior. She has 18 years of experience in consumer research and strategic branding. Her expertise has helped Jigsaw. She believes in research attitude. She has a holistic and an integrated perspective where the brand leads the business and becomes a catalyst for change. She has been teaching at various universities in India, France, Germany, and Australia. She's also writing columns. Um with her observations and sharp shooting, she makes the boardroom favorite across organizations in India, Middle East, Africa, and Australia. So this is about Dr. Rutu. Welcome, Dr. Rutu. Many thanks for your time and your presence. All over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Reshma. Thank you, Anil sir, for having me on this Men in Mantras. When you had called me a couple of weeks back, um, it was quite interesting to see that there are initiatives like this that are being taken where, businesses, business owners, and of course, past students of SPJIMR, and for that matter, even open to public, people are getting a chance to interact with other people, other professionals, and it's a great platform that you've created, and you invite people over for discussion. So I hope I am able
Thanks.
to I hope I'm able to do justice to this conversation. I'd love it to be a conversation if possible, if I wish I could see everyone, but it would be great if we could be we could have a more interactive session rather than me giving you some gyan, which honestly I don't think I have too much of. So Reshma, I mean, I'd be happy if people can also participate and contribute, because honestly, I think everyone's kind of sailing in the same boat, right? We're all business owners. We're all, we're all faced with challenging times. We're all swimming in uncharted waters, and I think everyone's as confused as the other one, and we're all trying to keep ourselves afloat. So I would love it if I would really love it if I am able to learn a thing or two from this session also, and I can just share my perspective. I can share my side of the story, and maybe see if it can probably help you somewhere. So I'll begin, and then if people can kind of keep their mics on and contribute also, that would be great. Okay, so moving on to the topic that I thought would be the ideal one to talk about is branding during challenging times, right? I use the word branding because that's the only word that I know of. That's the only kind of branding essentially is my topic of interest. It's also my bread and butter, and which is why I kind of talk about branding. But as you'll see in my conversation with you, I'm kind of not going to really keep it at branding alone. I'm going to talk about business in general. And entrepreneurs like you will kind of be able to relate with what I'm saying also. And specifically, I want to focus this conversation on the challenging times that we're all faced with. The fact that we've all been hit so hard. I don't think any other generation for almost 100 years has kind of faced the kind of things that we have faced. And I have, quite a personal tryst with COVID-19, and I'd love to share that with you too, because I think this is a great platform to talk about it. So, in March, when COVID struck, and we were in office, and my landlord came with a circular and said that, you guys need to vacate your office now, because from tomorrow the office is going to get shut, and nobody's going to be allowed and all that. And we said, okay, theek hai, kuch nahi hone wala types, and we kept the electricity on, we kept the computers, we kept all our things also over there. We said, okay, ek hafte mein we'll come back, right? And we never really felt that things are going to change so drastically, that we're entering into an abyss of sorts. We never thought that, right? We always thought, we almost dismissed it and said that, what's going to happen 1 week here and there, and we are going to get back, right? But then as days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, we slowly and steadily realized that this is here to stay. And I think as an entrepreneur, I faced a range of emotions, right? So from fear and pessimism to maybe rays of hope and optimism, to skepticism, to disappointment. I think I faced all the emotions possible during the 6 months that I've been in this COVID time. Interestingly, I always thought that this was like a whole sensational, media ne sensationalize karke rakha hai, and it's all this is nothing, it's just it's fear, creating fear among people. And I used to keep shunning all those WhatsApp messages that would keep coming in, and I would really kind of feel कि अभी कुछ नहीं है, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा. And I every day would look at all the positive news of COVID, and I would try and say कि अच्छा, now how long is it going to take, when is the vaccine going to come out, how many numbers dip हो रहे हैं कि नहीं हो रहे हैं. I went through all of that, right? And then COVID struck me. So I was hit with the virus a couple of weeks back myself, and I pretty much feel that I think I invited it upon myself, because I think I was so wired into this whole crisis mentally, that I had forgotten, or I had kind of made myself vulnerable to it. My immunity mentally was down. Not physically necessarily, but mentally my immunity was down. And that was the starting point of that virus entering our body, right? When you yourself mentally have given up, or when you yourself are so deeply wired into it that you've kind of forgotten about everything else, right? That is what my state was for this crisis. And then I had 14 days of isolation, mandatory isolation. Luckily, I was at home, quarantined at home, but all kinds of emotions, again, I went through. But it also gave me a chance to introspect. It also gave me a chance to sit back and peacefully assess what I was doing and where I was in life, with my family, with my work, with my business. And as an entrepreneur, I actually felt that this was probably a turning point in my life. Having got the virus myself, I probably felt that this was probably God's way of telling me that, you know what, you've got to slow down, you've got to look deeper inside you, and you've got to identify the things that are really, really important. And then you've got to build yourself back again. And that's what COVID did to me. Yeah. And that's why when Anil sir came to me and told me that, would you like to do a session? And I said that, yes, I'll do a session on branding. And I will do it specific to this time, because I think as an entrepreneur, I learned a whole lot of things about how I wanted to build my business, how I wanted to build my brand during these challenging times. So here I am wanting to take you through a little bit about what I know about branding. Like Reshma said, I've had the privilege of being in this space for the last 18 to 20 years now, 19 years to be precise. And in these 19 years, I've also been lucky enough to have worked with some of the most fantastic brands. Big brands, yes, of course, but I think I've had a lot more fun working with the mid to the smaller level brands. the brands with families, which families have built, brands with legacy, brands with history, brands with stories. I've been very, very fortunate to have worked with some beautiful families, some great people, some great leaders, like you guys over here. And I've had the chance to help them with a perspective of what branding really is. And this is just probably my way of sharing back. So I love talking about my subject. Somewhere I feel that branding is the answer to it all. It's the antidote to all the business problems that you face. I, I probably am wrong, but I think all professionals have this feeling that unka subject hi sabse acha subject hai. So I kind of work from that space. But I wanted to specifically talk about this, right? That this is probably the best time you will have to build your brand. Yeah, this is probably the best opportunity that you're going to get to build your brand. And I know a whole lot of you probably have never thought about this, right? Because this is one of those things that happen. माने marketing करना है, sales करना है, तो चलो branding. What is branding? I mean, you don't even probably, it's never entered into your scheme of things, or you probably not given it due importance, or you end up thinking कि branding का मतलब ये है कि logo बना दो, tagline कर दो, ads है, ये है वो है. And maybe that's why you've never given it too much of attention. Maybe you've not really thought that this is one of the things that I need to do as a part of my business, right? And essentially, what I also want to tell you is that, sometimes the slowdown, or sometimes a recession or a crisis like this, is your time to pause and give something of this kind all the more importance, because you've never ever had the time to do it otherwise. You've never had the time to deeply introspect. You've never had the time to consolidate, time to build. You've never had the time to express or to create. And this is probably your time and your chance to be able to create something of your own. So before I get into all of that, what is really a brand? And I think this is the part where I think there are a whole lot of misconceptions that float around. Yeah, and a whole lot of wrong notions on what is a brand. And I get this from like everyone, in the sense like I get this from like leaders of large companies to people working for startups. Somewhere or the other, we go wrong in our assessment of really what is a brand. Yeah. So there are tons and tons of myths that surround this concept, this subject of branding. Yeah. So one of the things that you may come back and tell me is that branding is very, very expensive. Yeah. It's not something that I want to do. It's meant for big companies, like the large corporates which are there. उनके लिए branding होता है. हमारी जैसी mid-sized companies, branding is not really a subject that, would be possible for us. Or we will find it difficult to convince our fathers that you should take up branding. Yeah, because they will not feel the need for branding. Or you will end up feeling it's too time consuming. Right now, let me focus on building the business brand, to baad mein banta rahega, because that's how your fathers have probably done it, right? Or that's how the previous generations have done it, because there was a time when branding was never necessary, or they felt that it was never necessary. Yeah, those were times when probably competition was low. Those were times when whatever you sold ended up getting, whatever you made ended up getting sold. And those times were different, right? You may also feel that it's not for me. Yeah, it's probably for a larger company, it's probably for somebody else, but it's not something for me. Like, मेरी तो गाड़ी चल रही है ना, तो why do I need to, complicate my life with branding? Why do I need to increase my efforts and have to go in and do all of this other stuff, which, is really not what I think one should be doing. And the most important is, during the pandemic, I have other things to worry about. That's the classic one. Yeah, that अभी crisis चल रही है, अभी recession चल रहा है. At this point of time, I don't have the money to be spending on branding, right? I don't have the money to be, or I don't have the time to be spending on branding. I should be going scouting around for business. Yeah. And what will you do? You will essentially take a magnifying glass and look for a needle in a haystack. That's the kind of behavior that most of us have been doing during the crisis. Crisis में पानी में डूब रहे हो. Yeah, you've been thrown into the water, and you're desperately trying to flail your arms, and you're trying to swim, and you're trying to keep yourself afloat. Yeah. And you don't realize that there is a life jacket that is with you that you can actually end up taking upon. And you're doing everything possible to keep yourself afloat. right? And I'm saying things like, you know, you'll call up your past customers, you'll try and see where you can probably, you know, get a side business, you'll try and think of new ventures at this point of time, कि अच्छा अच्छा ये business छोड़ दो, चलो कुछ और करते हैं, you know, let's try and see where the opportunity is. And everybody will tell you things like, you know what, forget about your core business is not going to work right now, pandemic है, उसके बदले में कुछ और करते हैं, अभी कुछ और setup कर दो, some new venture you start, and you'll do everything under the sun to keep yourself afloat. And literally you're like one of those people who's flailing their arms wildly in the water, and you're forgetting about the life jacket. You're forgetting about the lifeboat that you have with you, which is your brand. Yeah. And if you actually do catch on to that life jacket, you will realize that crisis or no crisis, tidal wave or gentle waves, you will stay afloat. And that is what a brand can do for you. Yeah. So we kind of keep ourselves away from this subject because we believe that this is something that is not for us. But I want to break these myths for you because I want to tell you that your brand is essentially your life jacket in times like this. Your brand is your way to anchor yourself, is your way to bring yourself together, is your way to consolidate. And that's the opportunity that you're sitting on. Yeah. And I believe that most of you who are attending this talk are probably owners of businesses, are, you know, second generation, third generation, or maybe even first generation businessmen. And you've got to realize that you're actually sitting on that gold mine of opportunity, which sometimes you don't end up realizing. Yeah. And that's the life jacket that you need to take on at this point of time. The crisis is the time when you need to avail of this life jacket. So what is a brand then, right? And I have some very simplistic definitions of branding because I don't like to complicate the subject, and I want to make it as simple as possible. Yeah. Your brand is your business and your business is your brand. Yeah. This is like as simple as it can get. Yeah. If I was to give this definition to my 6-year-old, maybe he might also be able to kind of understand it. Yeah, because definitions wo textbooks mein hote hai, or if you Google it and all that, you'll get these really complex definitions of branding and all of that. But I want to just make it really, really simple. And I say that your brand is your business and your business is your brand. It's simple. Yeah. And if this is going to give you a aha, think about it. Your business and your brand are not two separate entities. Your brand essentially is your business, and your business essentially is your brand. They are not two separate concepts. They are the same concept. And when I say this, you've got to keep in mind that your brand does not reside in your sales department, in your customer facing department. The concept of the brand is not the responsibility of your marketing team. The concept of the brand should start from you. It needs to be starting at the top. It needs to be starting at the boardroom level. You should be talking brand. Just the same way you talk about business, branding starts from the top. And if you look at the top brands across the world today, these are brands which basically have started from the very top and have translated their message across the entire organization. It's not a marketing function, it's a business function. And it's a fully integrated function from a business and a brand point of view. So your brand is your business is your brand. Your brand is your dream and your dream is your brand. Another simple way of defining this. Think about it. Your brand is your dream and your dream is your brand. Right? Or if I was to replace the word dream with vision, your brand is your vision and your vision is your brand. When you have a dream of, let's say, becoming a Fortune 500 company in the next 15 years, 20 years or so, you're essentially building the scaffolding for where your brand should be. You're basically building a visual imagery of your brand. When you say that I want to be on the cover of The Economist, or when you say I want to be on the cover of the Business Today, or I want to get an award, I want to get the ET Economic Times Young Businessman Award, what are you really doing? It's your dream, right? But you're also giving your dream a visual reality. And that visual reality is nothing but your brand, because your brand essentially is an expression of who you are. When you do this and when you talk about this with yourself, with your team, with your family, you're giving them a visualization of who you want to become. And that visualization ends up propelling you into building your brand. It ends up giving you engine. It ends up giving you firepower. And that firepower then is not just in your head, because you visualized it, because you've articulated it. That firepower ends up firing every other person in your organization. It ends up becoming something that every other person is geared towards, right? So this is, I mean, like, I can talk about myself here. I can talk about my business here, right? I run a consulting firm. I started about 5 years back. So I'm fairly new in this space. You could call me a startup, so to say. And I've realized this, that my brand is my dream and my dream is my brand. When I have a dream about what I want my consulting business to become, and I put it down and I tell my team that this is what I see ourselves becoming. I see ourselves getting so-and-so award. I see ourselves on the cover of so-and-so magazine. I see ourselves, being attracting investor support. I see, and I'm able to put that all into reality. Somewhere it starts becoming a visualization for them. Somewhere they're starting to see it, and they see, oh, we have 10 people now, we probably will become 100. And then we'll have to buy the next door office, and then we'll have to, and it just propels us, right? And it gives us a visual reality, and it gives us so much to look forward to. And that is your brand, right? Your brand is your everyday, and your everyday is your brand. Okay, another very, very simple way of telling you that. What you do every day is your brand, and what your brand is your everyday. So the smallest to the biggest actions that you do on a daily basis is essentially your brand. Right from the way you pick up your phone and answer your customer, to the promises that you make to him on your timely delivery, to the language that you write in your email, to the timeliness or the punctuality with which you operate, yeah, to the way you speak to your employees, to the way you hire and the way you fire, to the way you interact with your board, with your family, to the way you think about new business. Every single thing is essentially your brand. And if you look at it, if all of this is your brand, it's something that you're pretty much living and breathing on a daily basis, right? And that's how all pervasive the concept of brand is. Brand is not a logo. Brand is not a tagline. Brand is not some pretty looking pictures. Brand is not advertising. Those are concepts of branding which will help you in expressions. But everybody doesn't advertise. Everybody doesn't have to. माने Nike का logo आप देखोगे या Apple का logo with a bitten apple, what is it? It's nothing. It could be probably made by a third standard child, right? There's nothing to it really. But what is it? It is about the stories that you add to that logo. It's the essence that you build onto that logo, which ultimately becomes your brand, and the promise that you give people, the kind of realization that they have of that promise on a daily basis. Now that realization of that promise is at every single touch point. Now, whether you look at Apple from the point of view of its products, to its communication, to its after sales service, to its store experience, every single thing is a living promise of the fact that they are trying to change the world through technology. That's your brand promise. And then you're living it on a daily basis, right? And that becomes your brand. Every single thing about Tata as a company, as a group, is about giving back to society. And they do that in effective ways through every single thing that they do in business. So that becomes the most important essence of your brand, right? And that becomes the most, those realizations, the ability to be able to kind of put it all together and say, okay, this is what I am, and this is who I am, and this is what I want to build, is your brand. So like I said, therefore then, your brand is a deep realization of your promise and the presentation of that promise to the world. I'll give you an example of a brand that we worked on. This was also a family-run business. It was basically into electronic component manufacturing. Actually, they were not even manufacturing; they were basically distribute. I mean, they were job working the product, and they were essentially distributing the product, right? Relays and LCD screens and things like that. Now, so they brought us on to the to work with them a couple of years back, and somewhere they kind of wanted to build their brand, and they said that they were growing as an organization, as a company. The strength of the organization was growing, and the founder had a vision. The founder had a belief that he needed to build a scaffolding for a bigger reality going forward, and he believed that the brand would be able to help him build that scaffold. He believed that the brand would be able to help him build that beautiful house that he saw 15 years down the line, right? So we started working on the brand, and we said that, okay, it's relays, it's technology, it's LCD screens, it's battery packs and things like that. Boring products, man. If you really think of it, there's nothing to the product, right? And day in and day out, you go and you kind of work for it, and you come back, and even the team that worked for it, there was nothing to it, right? You're just basically distributing the product, right? And kuch kar nahi rahe ho, or right? And then we said, okay, you know what? Let's kind of turn this entire conversation around. And we took from the vision of the founder himself. And this founder actually believed, the person who was the MD of the company really believed that by whatever he was doing, he was trying his level best to make an impact in the world. Yeah. By the littlest things that he was doing, he believed that that little stuff that he did was somewhere creating, mera jo LCD screen hai, somewhere it is creating an impact for somebody, right? And we took that narrative on, and we said, you know what, your brand is about how you are tech powering the world. We gave him a beautiful line, said that tech powering the world, like empowering the world. We said tech powering the world. Now we presented this whole thing to him, and you won't believe it, there were stars in his eyes when he looked at that presentation, because we gave his inner desires a visualization. We gave what he was kind of, and it was his words. We just put it all together, right? And we said tech powering the world, and we put this whole thing out beautifully, where we said that it's about creating impact at the grassroots level. It's about taking technology to places where technology wouldn't otherwise have gone. It's about taking that LCD screen and creating a handheld device which is going to allow a villager in the interiors of the country to be able to do online banking. Yeah, it is about taking those panels and providing that panel to create solar electricity for the entire village so that all the children can get educated. Now we built that whole narrative for him, and we created that whole sense of how he's tech powering the world. Now that was the starting point for his vision. And from there, he said that, you know what, relays and batteries and LCD screens are the means to my end. Let me get into the end itself. So the brand actually propelled him. The definition of this brand propelled him to get into newer business lines. And he said that, rather than talking about relays and batteries and things like that, let me talk about fintech as an industry that I want to get into. So he started looking at it from an end use perspective. Let me get into edtech. Maybe with the LCD screens, I can create mini iPads, and I can distribute these iPads to villages. Maybe with my LCD screen, I can create handheld devices. I can create micro terminals. I can create solar energy. So like that, he redefined his entire business structure, and he ended up getting into end use industries. And this end use completely changed the business. And we actually ended up turning around the morale, the enthusiasm of his entire team. So from working for a company which sold batteries and relays, they actually believed that they were influencing the usage of technology across the world. and they were building a more equitable world. Now imagine if you are working for an organization which believes in such lofty ideals, you're going to feel a sense of excitement, you're going to feel a sense of empowerment and achievement, and you're going to feel good about yourself too, right? So this promise that you build and the presentation of that promise is not just for your customers to hey, but it's also equally for yourself and for the entire tribe who has committed their life to working with you. It's about giving them aspiration. It's about giving them, it's about propelling them to kind of look beyond just the product. And because that's what we do, right? And business is not about just giving products to people. Business is about changing people's lives. And I genuinely believe that no matter what you do, you're essentially influencing society, you're changing lives, you're impacting generations through whatever business that you're in. And that's the essence of the business that you need to be able to bring alive. That's the expression that you need to be putting together. That's the kind of magic that you need to be able to instill in every single person who works for you. You need to put that into their eyes. Yeah. And that's what a brand can do for you. Help you present your promise to the world. So essentially, now that I have told you that what is a brand, and from my perspective, how simplistic it is to kind of build your brand, and it doesn't take much. It doesn't take expensive consultants and agencies to build your brand. I shouldn't be the one saying that because I run a brand consulting firm, but you don't need that. What you need essentially are very, very simple things. And I wanted this specifically to be about the COVID time, the pandemic time, because that's what's current right now. That's really what the problem essentially is right now, right? Everyone's talking about this. And like I said earlier also is that, this is the time when we've all been thrown into the water with no training manual at all. And we've all been trying to swim and we've all been trying to do whatever we can, right? And your natural reaction to me would be that why should we be talking about branding right now? Let's talk business first. Yeah. And that's my answer. The last 20-30 minutes that I've spent with you, it essentially is my answer that your business and your brand aren't two different things. They're the same thing. And there are a couple of things that you can do today to be able to start thinking brand. Start thinking brand first. Put the brand into your boardroom. Start looking at your business from the lens of your brand, right? And there are a couple of things that I feel you can do at this point of time. Number one, consolidation. One of the things that I think this whole pandemic has created is a sense of unification amongst people. Yeah. Today, because the pandemic is an external force, we've all come together in a way, and that has become the enemy. The external has become the enemy, right? And it has brought people together. It has brought employees together. It has brought customers together. It has brought employers together. People are sharing their stories. People are talking about, like you and I, for example, are sitting and talking about our stories today. And the world has changed, right? And in fact, this is a great time to sit back and consolidate on your business. When I say consolidation, what I really mean is to be able to spend some time to introspect, to assess the strengths that you have as an organization, to assess the strengths that you have as an employee team, bring them together, start thinking about the past, start thinking about your story, start thinking about your legacy, about how your previous generations handled the business, what worked, what didn't work. This is a great time to do that because the pandemic has thrown us into a time where we probably, now of course things are opening up a little bit, but I feel that, especially in the first couple of months, we were, I think we got up every single day in the morning, dressed ourselves up, sat on our desks and didn't know what to do. And then we attended webinar after webinar, trying to find answers to our problems, right? And I think all of us faced that situation because we didn't know quite what to do. And then we thought of things and we identified and we tried to, we all did that. But I really think this was a great time to consolidate. And you may not realize it right now, but you probably have already consolidated in this period. Recognize the fact that these last 6 months have been a time for you to have reflected and have gone deeper inside yourself to know who you are, what you stand for, what's that promise that you have for the world, who are your customers, what is the kind of business that this customer is giving you, what are the returns that they end up giving you, how profitable is it to do that business with that customer. Is the business that you're in the right business, or do you want to change course? Do you want to change direction? Are the employees that you have are the ones who you want to stay with for life, or maybe you need to change your team? When you have time on your hand, whether you realize it or not, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you are consolidating, you are reflecting, you are already in a phase of you're thinking all the time. And this 6 months, I feel, has been that immensely powerful time for consolidation. My only request to you is, take a diary and put down the kind of things that you have thought through in this period. And trust me, it's not going to be an empty diary. You will put things down, because whether you're in the shower, or whether you're eating your lunch, or whether you're spending time with your children, or whether you're doing nothing, looking at a computer screen, you are consolidating your business, because time gives you the benefit to consolidate your business. You've had the gift of time. Most of the times we are fire shooting, we are troubleshooting, we are firefighting. We don't have the time to do these kind of activities. We don't have the time for what we call navel gazing, where you look deep inside you. We don't have that kind of time, because what are we doing? We're only trying to troubleshoot one thing from the other. Aaj ye hua hai, wo hua hai, right? And as a business owner, you don't get the time to consolidate. Take this time, and you probably have already faced this, take this time to reflect on that consolidated past story that you built for your business, and also spend that time to redefine your promise to the world. Spend that time to think about who you are and what you stand for, and what is that promise that you have for the world. And every single business has a promise, right? And whether that promise is like what Coca-Cola's promise is. What is Coca-Cola's promise, you may ask me? It's not just giving cola to the world. No, that's not its promise. It's about sharing happiness across the world, right? That's how they define their promise. Or Walt Disney's promise, or Disney World's promise, is to bring magic and inspiration. What is Nike's promise? To bring inspiration and athleticism to every person. Now, these are beautiful promises. Identify what is your promise to the world. Why do you exist? Why do you go to work every day? What is it that drives you to do the business that you do, right? And it isn't just making money. Trust me, it's not just that. You may think that it is to get that next, to keep your balance sheet healthy, and to be able to make profit and to be able to grow and all of that. Yes, those are byproducts of your business. As human beings, we are wired to think deeper and to kind of have bigger reasons why we do what we do. We just don't realize those bigger reasons. We've not spent time thinking about those bigger reasons. So spend this time to consolidate and recognize, why do you do what you do? What is that difference that you're trying to make in the world by doing what you do? And that's your consolidation. Yeah. The second thing is unseen opportunity, right? And I think this pandemic has just changed the way opportunities have, kind of presented themselves to the world. Like, I, for one, have never been such a strong proponent of edtech or work from home or any of such kind of things, because I've always felt like, no, that doesn't work, because I'm traditional in my approach, right? But if you look at the kind of opportunities that have suddenly arisen in this period, in this time, from home chefs to Zoom celebrations. Recently, I attended a funeral which was actually programmed by a group of people who specialize in Zoom funerals. That's a great opportunity, right? A group of singers who will sing at a funeral. Unseen opportunity, right? Or for that matter, anything and everything today, there is a hidden opportunity in it. There is a new way for you to do what you were otherwise doing. Yeah. And suddenly things have opened up because of that. Like what I never really thought was that how will we ever, as a consulting firm, ever be able to work from home where my team and I can't sit together, we can't brainstorm, we can't, chat, we can't do, but we've been doing it. We do a lot of consumer research, and I always thought that consumer research is about being face to face with the person, being in his house, being able to see how he lives and all of that. That's what research is all about. That's how we've been taught research, right? But suddenly, obviously you can't travel, so what do we start doing? We start doing Zoom. But somehow through that Zoom, through that camera, we've been able to still see his house, we've still been able to, and we've been able to do a fairly good job. Unseen opportunity. Now, after this situation, I may probably not need to travel. Half my travel bills will be cut down. Otherwise, 2 times in a month, I was always on the move. Maybe I may not need to be on the move anymore. Maybe this is a completely unseen opportunity which has just arisen. Now, this particular period has given us the chance to sit back and identify those unseen opportunities. And you probably have already identified them, or probably you need some triggers to identify how is it that people are, how is behavior changing? When I talk about it with you, I'm sure a lot of you are probably in B2B businesses, and you may say that, this is all consumer language. This is all like end customer language. But I also do believe that as a business owner, you need to always look at your end consumer's life. You may be a yarn manufacturer, but you will have to keep track of the runway trends which are going to impact your yarn, the color of your yarn. You get what I'm saying? You're going to always have to understand consumer, actions or consumer behavior to see that what kind of product you're going to have to create. Whether you're B2B or you're B2B2C or whatever it is you are, you're going to have to study behavior. You're going to have to study shifts. You're going to have to understand trends. And these times, in fact, are the best times to understand trends. Initially, when we started off this lockdown, we actually felt that, these are all very transitory times and no trend is going to remain. Everything will come back to normal. 6 months down the line, we don't think so anymore. We probably are seeing certain opportunities stay the way they are. We are probably seeing certain shifts in behavior to be how they are. And that is opening up opportunities for a whole lot of people for stable businesses to sustain on. So this is probably a time for you to reinvent yourself or to think of something completely new and something completely exciting. And maybe this is the time to do that. The third thing is expression. This is also a great time for you to express. And by expression, I don't necessarily mean create your new logo and all that. Honestly, none of those things are required. You can go on to a beautiful website called Canva and create your logo for free. You don't need any agency to do that for you. Okay. You can go on to Google and look for a tagline for yourself. You don't need an agency to do that for you. But this is your time to build the story and the expression of your business. This is the time where you can take your entire tribe along, your employees, do frequent visits, do frequent town halls, do frequent Zoom meetings with your team. Tell them about what your new brand promise is all about. Get them to understand it, get them to believe in it. Get them to imbibe that whole culture that you're creating for yourself. Create these simple expression points. Talk to your customers. Tell them about your brand promise. Give them ways to do it. It could be through short videos. It could be through social media. It could be through WhatsApp messages. Simple, small things, not big stuff, not big media. Simple, small ways for you to express this realization that you've created. And finally, and most importantly, I also have put in a little bit over here on give back. This is also your time to give back, right? And when I say give back, it doesn't necessarily mean donate to a cause or anything like that. I'm saying give back in the simplest and the smallest of ways. And why I'm putting this into a branding conversation is because if you as a brand believe in knowledge, believe in legacy, believe in this, then do those little acts which will actually help you bring your brand alive to people. For example, give your employees who can't afford laptops for their children's schooling, give them laptops. You know what I mean? So I'm saying that simple, small ways for you to give back in a way that helps you live your promise. So having said that, I'm pretty much, I think this is all I have to say about this topic. Branding during challenging times. I think, I believe that the world has given us an opportunity, in fact, rather than, a crisis, to be able to do the things that we as business owners otherwise don't ever get a chance to do. I think this has been a golden opportunity. And I feel that this is a great time to build your brand, because the last thing that I'm going to tell you is that your brand is like your piggy bank. Yeah. The more you feed into it, the more it will come in use to you on a rainy day. So the more you invest in this subject, the more it's going to come of use to you on a rainy day. Brands which have built themselves in this manner are the ones who are least hit by the crisis. Crisis or no crisis, their brand equity will always remain. And that is what your aim should be, right? So I think that's all from me. Thank you very, very much. Reshma, I hope this was useful for you guys. And I'm open to question and answers, if any. Okay, so Dr. Vinod Nair has written a question saying, we see business getting attention somehow. What's your take on it? I'm sorry, Dr. Vinod, I didn't clearly understand your questions. So when you said we see business getting attention somehow, could you just probably explain your question a little better? And until you do that, I'll probably take on Charan Singh's question. What would be the best way for a startup fashion brand being built by a design student reach Gen Z? This is my daughter Kriti's question. Kindly briefly share your guidance. Okay. Okay, so what's the best way to start a brand? I'm not going to necessarily keep it specific to the fashion brand itself, but what's the great way to start a brand? So let's say, for example, you have an idea. The first step that we usually follow when we build a brand is we identify a target market. We identify who the brand should be addressed to, and we create, so there are three kind of, it's like a Venn diagram. So we first look at the consumer and what is it that the consumer wants. We look at competition in that space, and we look at our own offering, and we put these three circles together, and we say that what is it that you are best at? What's your product all about? Who else is in this space, and what is the consumer want and need? And the merging and the amalgamation of these 3 points is really where your insight will come from. Yeah. So the first and foremost thing is to generate that insight through research. The second stage will then be to create what we call a positioning for your brand. So create a space of what your brand should stand for in the mind of that customer. So let's say, for example, your daughter is starting up a design brand, a fashion brand, which is for Gen Z. And having understood Gen Z as a market, let's say, for example, this is a market which looks at fashion in a very different way. So from whatever research we've done on Gen Z, these are people, the entire generation is very driven and is wanting to live for a cause. So maybe your product or your brand should talk about an important cause. Maybe it should address a sustainability issue. Maybe it should talk about zero waste, right? So that becomes then your positioning. That's what your brand will stand for. Sustainable clothing for the new generation. Gen Z is also looking at fashion very differently. They probably are not necessarily looking at fashion in the way in which we looked at fashion, but they're looking at fashion more from the point of view of comfort, because they want to be themselves. They don't want to be something else. So there's more authenticity coming into the picture now. So therefore, then this probably ends up becoming a new age fashion brand for this new generation, which is driven on the layer of comfort. So whatever your positioning is, you create that positioning, and then you create your, of course, your brand's identity, and you give it a personality, and you give it a character, and then it kind of moves from there. Of course, if it's a B2C brand, you will have to do certain amount of commercialization to the brand and all of that. So those are the steps that I hope I've answered your question, Charan Singh. So Dr. Vinod Nayar's question is that any method to get attention for a company? Okay, so I think I've understood this question. So what Dr. Nayar is trying to ask is that how does a company or how does a business gain attention? Now, my question back to you would be, whose attention are you trying to get, right? So are you trying to get the attention of your customer, or are you trying to get the attention of the larger world within which your business resides? So if you're trying to get the attention of your customer, there are many ways for you to do that. Yeah. Frequently send him updates about your business, communicate with him frequently, show him newer developments that you keep doing, talk about your business and what it stands for and all of that. Now that's your way to connect with your customer, create a conversation, create a narrative. But if you're trying to get attention to from the larger world, you've got to stand for something, right? You've got to stand for a cause. You've got to stand for a purpose. Like, for example, companies like Tata, companies like Amul, they're not just talking to the customer alone. They're talking to a larger culture. They're talking to a larger society. And that society essentially is, so the way they talk about it is because they stand for something bigger than the products that they make. Now that's a great way to actually start off the conversation with the rest of the world, whether that person is your customer or not. And in fact, as a corporate brand, you do need to always look at it from that point of view, because you're not just trying to sell your product to the customer. You're also trying to influence your employees. You're also trying to look at investor support. You're also trying to look at PR. So there are many, many things that you're trying to do at the same time. Yeah. Okay. The next question is from Mohit. Could you give us some examples for a good mix of these? Branding for an individual, branding for a company, and branding for a product. Okay. Branding for an individual, Mohit, is you and me. Okay, if I was to give you an example of this, how would I kind of put it? Everybody is a brand for that matter. Every film star is a brand. Every politician is a brand. Every speaker is a brand. A subject matter expert is a brand. Anil sir is a brand. And him having created Men in Mantras is also a brand, right? So that you and I are a brand, because branding as a subject takes from a human discipline. Branding is about personality. It's about character, right? It's about humanizing a business. So the people are also brands, right? Narendra Modi is a brand, Amitabh Bachchan is a brand, Amit Shah is a brand, and they've all created this equity around themselves through which they live. Second example, branding for a company. Now at the corporate level, there are some very, very powerful brands that have, so like for example, Tata is a corporate brand, it's a company brand. So at the corporate level, the company Tata doesn't necessarily stand for any one business. It stands for a set of values. It stands for a certain kind of ideology. And because of that ideology, the business is able to stretch beyond just one line of business. They don't just make steel. They had that beautiful campaigns with "We also make steel," which really is about how they've gotten so diversified as a business, right? And that is a corporate brand, an ideology on which the entire brand resides, not a product. Branding for a product. Okay, branding for a product, I would say there are several brands which are very product centric and focused on that. Like for example, an Apple is a product centric brand because it's about technology essentially, right? It's about bringing technology to the world. It's about changing the world. It's about think differently, right? And that's very product, it's very tech centric. Or if you were to look at Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola is also a product brand, right? Okay, I have a couple of more here. So many brands are, Priyanka asks over here, so many brands are coming with sustainability, how to create something different on the same grounds. I'm creating sustainable, reusable bags. Okay, great question. When there are several businesses who all are talking about the same thing, you will have to differentiate yourself, right? Because otherwise then you're going to become one of the many who talks the same language. Consumers will not be able to tell you apart from somebody else. So the basis of branding is that you will have to create certain differentiations around yourself. Now, sustainability, for example, you're creating sustainable, reusable bags. You could probably look at sustainable reusable bags, with great design, because a lot of the sustainable reusable bags today don't have great design. They look very, fuddy-duddy. So maybe design can become a differentiator for you. Or maybe, it could, so I'm not too sure what your product is, but if I'm imagining it correctly, if you're looking at reusable bags, it could also probably be something around how the bag is for, let's say, kids, or how the bag is for a different consumer segment. So you'll have to create some differentiations which nobody else has. Now, it's not always necessary that you will have to create difference. Sometimes you don't have a differentiation. If you don't have a differentiation, then you create what we call an image differentiation, not a product differentiation, an image differentiation. So you start building your brand as a more cooler brand, as a more hip brand, as a more fashionable brand, as something that is, or a more responsible brand. So you create imagery which differentiates you from other brands. So that's one of the ways to also do it. Yeah. Okay, the next question I have from Abhishek Biani. A B2B company should have a brand as the company itself, or the different products as individual. If both, then how to have both aligned? Okay. Now, B2B companies specifically will definitely need to have a corporate brand. The company brand is something that you need to have, right? And within the company brand, you will create product demarcations. Now, even at the product level, that decision you'll have to take whether you want to create separate product brands or whether everything comes under the umbrella of the company. Now, in some cases, what ends up happening is that the umbrella of the company is enough to create the brand, because your customers, the people whom you're marketing to, let's say you're a fairly aligned company. Let's say you're selling, let's say, technology products. So then the fact that you're aligned means that umbrella brand of your company is enough for you to brand yourself and for you to create that recall with your customer. But if, let's say, you're a very diversified kind of a business, if you're into different product lines, one is technology, another could be, let's say, foods, and the third could be probably something else altogether, then you may need to also create subdivisions within the corporate brand so that you're able to address different consumer segments. So the answer here to this question is that your brand architecture, your brand hierarchy is going to have to be defined by how many consumer segments do you have? How many different consumer segments do you have? And do you need to speak different languages with each of them? Yeah. Aruj has a question. Kindly elaborate on the scope of work for your company. So you can look us up on Jigsaw at Jigsaw Brand Consultants. Just go into Google and you'll see our company and you'll see what we do. Jigsaw Brand Consultants. That's the name of my company.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ritu, for the wonderful session. We completely enjoyed learning it, and it was kept so simple, and it all really felt like, our situation, literally our situation today. And the best realization is everything is inside, but probably we've forgotten to look at it. So, I mean, you really made simplified the whole branding, for us. So
Thank you.
It was very, very wonderful. Hope to have a session again from you. Thank you to all the participants. Thank you, Shanti ma'am.